Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We obviously talk a lot about the top tier meta loadouts here on the channel, the best rifles, the best SMGs, what weapons are super overpowered at any given time. But of course, not everyone enjoys just running whatever is the meta. Frankly, especially as of late, it's been pretty boring just using the same 2 or 3 weapons every single game. Sometimes running those off meta loadouts or those underrated loadouts can be a lot more fun and a lot more rewarding. So today I wanted to break down the top 5 best off meta weapons to be using in the game right now. As we go through it all, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. It does really help the channel grow. Let's try and go for 2,000 likes on this one. And if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. So feel free to hit that subscribe button. That way you can always guarantee we're up to date. So let's start first with a sniper loadout. As I'm sure you guys know, the sniper meta doesn't really exist ever since the update to the one-shot capabilities of pretty much all the snipers in the game. But honestly, if you were to choose a sniper that is not something like the CAR or the Swiss and you're just going to deal with the bad hit markers, the 3-line is a really good option. I know Isaac has talked about this one a lot in the past as being a top tier sniper choice, and it is just generally very consistent. It can one-shot. It's relatively mobile for what it is. Like all around, it is a very solid choice. So first up here, we're going for the Mercury Silencer. It doesn't have any cons, obviously not hurting your ADS or anything, but it's going to help out with the velocity and obviously keep you off the map. For the barrel, there are several options here. Obviously, you got some long barrels with better velocity and better damage. You've got some that are better for ADS and whatnot. But honestly, the first barrel here, the 514, I feel like is the best choice. Better ADS, better velocity, and no damage fall off, which is pretty cool as well. So it's nice and consistent there. For the optic, this really comes down to preference. Some players just like the base optic and sniper scope that's there. That's totally fine if you don't want to use one. I know I've seen people suggest things like the 4 to 8 times. If you really want to go crazy, you could use it 10 times if you wanted to. Probably wouldn't go for iron sights in my own personal opinion. But I also see a lot of players using something like the 3.5 rifle scope as well. That's a pretty popular one. So you definitely have some choices when it comes down to what you want to use to be the most comfortable with, but that comfortability is what's most important there. For the stock here, we're going for my very own custom MZ for that better ADS, better recoil recovery, and strafe speed, which is pretty convenient. We're going to end up going for the skeletal underbarrel again for a better ADS speed. For the magazine, you could just use the base rounds. I also see a lot of players going for the 30-06 20 rounds for the better damage, and obviously you get 20 rounds so you don't have to reload. I know Isaac has used this in some of his top tier videos, and I trust his judgment very well when it comes to sniping, especially because the man's a beast. But like, this is a surprisingly good magazine, as obscure as it seems to have a 20 round mag. Of course, we want to go for lengthens here. For the rear grip, you do again have a couple of options. The fabric grip, pretty solid for that better ADS and better sprint to fire. You could also go for something though like taped if you wanted to, for better movements in general. You could also go for something like the leather grip if you wanted to as well. Totally comes down to preference there yet again. For perk 1, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really huge on any of these. Better sprint to fire, sure, that's not terrible, but it's also a sniper. Position concealment, you don't need that. Sleight of hand wouldn't be a bad choice, but you're also not reloading a ton with a 20 round mag, right? Silent focus is not bad. Hard scope, not really worth it. Shrouded could be useful if you have a scope that has glint on it. I think sleight of hand is kind of the lesser of all evils. That or silent focus here. And then perk 2, we're gonna go for on hand for that faster ADS speed, because that's actually pretty beneficial and sort of like a secret or hidden bonus that on hand offers there. But yeah, pretty solid 3-line setup here if you are into sniping. Next up, we actually have the AUG SMG from Modern Warfare. No, it doesn't have the insane mobility of all the Vanguard subs, but it does have really good damage, and it has a very competitive TTK as well, which is surprising considering the nerfs that I'd seen in the past. So first up here, we're going to go for monolithic suppressor just to keep us off the map. Also helps out that range a bit. We're not going to use a barrel. None of these barrels are particularly beneficial for close range play, and we're building this as a sub obviously, so we don't need that. Instead, you can go for the tac laser or the 5 milliwatt. I like the 5 milliwatt just for that better sprint to fire, makes it a little bit more aggressive there. We're also going to go for the 32 round mags just to give us a little bit more ammo capacity there. This is 9 mil and the TTK is actually very solid. I also got to use the Stippy Grippy, the icon itself, for that better ADS and sprint to fire. Then lastly, I like the comb stock for a better ADS speed. You could also go for sleight of hand if you wanted to. You could use an underbarrel if you're not super comfortable with the control. I think it's a pretty easy weapon to use, and it actually is surprisingly competitive. Following that, we've got the FFAR. You could use this as a main primary. You could use this as sniper support if you wanted to, although it'll be a little bit slower than things like the Cooper and the Nikita and whatnot. But It does actually pack a punch still. It's got a very competitive TTK. The recoil's a lot better than what it used to be. It seems like it's really not all that hard to manage, and it's just like, it's consistent. We're obviously familiar with it. It was a top tier meta gun for quite some time. We are going to go for a main rifle setup here. So we're starting off with agency suppressor. If you were going for sniper support, you'd go for the basic suppressor. If you were also going for sniper support, you'd probably go for something like the Ranger barrel, but in this case, we're going to go for task force for the better control, velocity, and the range on there. We got to use field agent grip regardless of how you want to build it, alongside the 50 round mag as well. We don't want to use the 50 fast. That'll hurt our ADS even more, just unnecessarily. And then honestly, I don't feel like you need an optic here. 3 times you could use, but I don't feel like it's necessary at all. I'd much rather go for something like a Raider stock for a slightly better strafe speed and a better sprint to fire, or a Tiger Team Spotlight for better movement, or even something like a Serpent Wrap for better ADS. All those are great choices. I prefer the Raider stock with my own build, but you definitely have some options there. Another weapon that's sort of seen a fall from grace, but now has sort of risen back into that competitive area that really is not getting used a ton, is the automaton. I mean, the thing is super easy to use, very low visual recoil. It's patterned quite literally straight vertical, so it's super easy to control, just pulling straight back. Doesn't have the craziest TTK in the world, but because it's so easy to use, you're gonna land shots consistently, so your realistic TTK will actually be pretty solid here. First up, we of course are starting with the MX silencer for the better control, keeping us off the map, giving us better range as well. The 600mm barrel here is going to give you the best control here, which is making a very easy weapon to use even easier, so sort of a no-brainer there. Whatever optic you're comfortable with, run with that. 2.5 times the 3 to 6 is also a really good choice. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on for the sake of this video. For the stock, padded better control during sustained fire. Key note there is to make sure you're not stacking anything that is initial firing recoil, because it will hurt that. But yeah, better control out of that. For the underbarrel, we're going for Carver. Like I said, it's straight vertical control, so you can go ahead and run that pretty easily, and it's gonna make the weapon again shoot like a laser beam. 75 round drum mag here makes it nice and simple. We're also going for the lengthened perk, just so we get that better velocity. We're going to go for hatched here for that better control yet again. Perk 1, we're going to end up going for tight grip. Again, this is during sustained fire, so it will cooperate with our stock there. Then perk 2, fully loaded or on hand. Both of those work just fine, but you got a laser beam, pretty solid realistic TTK, very easy to use. And then lastly, we got a bit of a surprise one, the SA-87. I'm gonna keep it a buck. This weapon is slow. This weapon has some very awkward recoil, but if you can get past that and you can live with the fact that you are not going to be running around at hyperspeed, it's actually very, very strong. If you're mounting with this thing, you will erase players. If you can control the recoil and land your shots consistently, you will erase players. So it's definitely a very much so overlooked weapon, but one that is not impossible to use and do well with. So of course, we're starting off with monolithic suppressor. We're gonna go for the largest barrel in this case, the 25-inch. It is gonna be, again, very slow, but it's gonna help out a lot with that control and make it better for, you know, medium and long range fights. We're gonna go ahead and run the VOK 3 times optic as always. Gonna go ahead and throw on the T-pose reticle on there as well. Commando foregrip for slightly better control, and then the 50 round mags. 60 is just too slow, right? It's 10 extra bullets. That's not a huge deal, but that movement speed, it's already terrible, so you don't want to make it even worse if you can help it there. So pretty basic MW setup, but yeah, if you're looking for something to mess around with, I mean, the SA-87 is a pretty fun weapon if you can get the hang of it. And that being said, those in my opinion are 5 of the best off-meta weapons to be using right now, and that's going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, or if you have not already subscribed, every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, so feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.